everybody, welcome to another bi-weekly dev stream for Clapfoot for Foxhole game. I am HB, Matt is not with us today. So that means that you guys better be prepared for a show, just like an amazing stream of technical difficulties and things that I don't know how to do.
Yeah, check chat to see if
yeah, it seems it's all good. With me, we have a special guest this time.
special.
Yeah, because you're never here.
Fine.
But he is the oldest member of Clapfoot, I guess. Him
Right.
and Mark, because they started the company together. This is Nooba, for the ones that don't know. His name, Alkas, another programmer. And then, of course, we have Mark. Hi, guys. It's good to have you back here. Alkas, how have things been?
Good. It's good to be back in the office. I've been working remotely for a while now, but I got my paperwork sorted out, so now I can be going back and forth. I was, for those who might not know, I was going back and forth to like the States, where my wife is going to school. So yeah, it's good to be back. It's good to see everybody in real life.
It is good to have you back in the studio.
Yeah. There's actually people on the team I hadn't met in person yet, so I was telling everybody, oh, it's like I'm meeting my WoW raid party in real life. It's like,
I heard your voice so many times.
You look smaller on a screen. So,
That's nice. I'm glad.
Maybe you can talk a little bit about like, I guess, since you're here, might as well, everyone's heard it from me, but like, I guess what excited you about wanting to work on Foxhole? Obviously, we started, like, the idea came from us like a few years ago. Everyone's heard me talk about it like a million times, but if, maybe you can, since you're here, show and tell.
Yeah.
Share a little bit about
bringing my father to work.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell us what you do.
Well, I mean, with Foxhole, we wanted to, see something that has not been, in our opinion, had been done before. We wanted to kind of like see like all these people working together, like, a persistent world, and, see how much like what can people do if you just kind of throw them in a world with nothing but the tools to like build it up and see if they can communicate, coordinate, see how like the escalation, like because it's it's a game of like escalating coordination, right? Whichever faction can coordinate better, can work together better, wins the war at the end, right? And it's been a wild journey, right? We started small, with like the weekly wars and the free alpha and all that stuff, and it's come a long way. It's evolved a lot, right? Like
it is very different from what it was,
and we might have taken some like maybe unnecessary stops here and there, but I think we were we always had this like always had these like dreams, right? And can you imagine like 1,000 people in the same world, like coordinating, fighting, for like a unified cause, and that was a dream, 2 years ago, and we've had that happen, which is mind blowing. People building, external tools to like monitor the war, like that was like stuff that was just like
oh my god,
just kind of like it was just like wouldn't it be cool kind of stuff, and then so much like fan art, like
imagine if one day they would ever do that.
All the community fan art, all the people active, like all the clans like pulling off like super complicated like strategies, and doing all sorts of like just getting really into the concept, and just really getting into like what we were like trying to build. It's super exciting, super gratifying, and hopefully we can keep raising the bar. And
hopefully, if there's something that you wish we had in the game that we don't have, or something that you wish we had done like differently, what's one thing?
Without spoilers.
Yeah. No spoilers.
The one thing.
I mean, it doesn't matter. Like spoilers or not, I don't think there's anything to spoil. Like it could be something that we do or something that we don't, right? It could be anything.
Something we could have in the game that we don't have. I mean,
Or something you could change.
something I could change in the game. This one's hard to do without all the things we're actually planning. It's like, isn't that what we're like, hey, we should change that. So like, let's do that.
Yeah, it's not a leading question. It's totally just like.
No, I know, but I
Since
also
you're the
don't wanna-
guest,
I also
might
don't
as
want to be
well.
like, oh, we're doing this. Because, yeah,
Okay, what's something?
that's a hard question.
What's something that you think we could have done better? Why don't we change it to from one vague question to another vague question that is
Okay,
vague
well,
enough that
well,
you
Or
can
open
answer.
enough that you
Yeah.
can do whatever you want with the answer.
I think it could have, in terms of like the journey that brought us here, it could have been. I think it might have been smarter to like push into conquest earlier, like push it because we started with like single region wars and we were trying to like kind of. We're trying to kind of make like we were imagining like, or I guess we were hoping that it would like perfectly balanced or something. We were like trying to like make everything work before we said like, oh, we should, before we go to multi-region wars, let's try to get this like one like working, and and it's like a totally different game. It's multi-region wars and getting everybody into the same shard, getting everybody playing in the same war, and having the wars last longer. Having the content in terms of like just that pushes into conquest. I think if we had been a little more braver earlier, I think we might have been a little farther now. But and some stuff, it's like sometimes you add things that like did that really add towards the vision, or was it just kind of a distraction? I can't think of an example right now,
But who knows as well. Let's say we did move sooner to something like Conquest, as you mentioned. I remember that, we did try Conquest before. Are you talking about the first time or the second time?
Yeah, we had like some tests, but that was mostly a technical. That was kind of like, can we do this from a technical standpoint?
Yeah, because let's say we did move in like sooner, we might have had different bugs that would, and a different perspective that wouldn't lead to what we have today, right? So it's so hard to tell exactly what could have happened.
Right, yeah. I mean,
if we
decided, I don't have regrets. Let's put it that way. But if I had to be like, maybe we could have done. I'm saying we were afraid of doing conquest, and maybe we're afraid now of doing
Something
else.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of remind yourself like those things that you are afraid of are usually the things that pay off. That those are the things that really kind of like once we get, it's scary to jump into conquest. That's why it took us a while to jump into it. But once we did, it was like, okay, this is hard. This is like stressful. But once it starts working, the payoff is like so much more than just kind of like just tinkering like small things here and there, and like hoping that like something will kind of stick. Like it's those big scary steps are what kind of move the goal, move the project towards the goal. So
hopefully we'll be taking some of those big scary steps in the near future.
Yeah, hopefully we can.
I would say that
there's at least one or two of
there's
those.
one or two that I can think of just at the top of my head.
Right. Cool.
We're gonna move on. Today's gonna be a slightly different dev stream. It's gonna be a little bit shorter. I am not as capable as Matt, and we have so many things to be working on.
That's right.
So we're gonna kind of like run a little bit fast during the community highlight snippets and even the dev blog part, not the dev blog, the
updates,
the dev update parts, and we're gonna open up for questions a little bit earlier. So let's move on. Without further ado, as soon as hold on, there you go.
Nice.
Let's start with the community highlights snippets. For the people that don't know, community highlights is a blog post that happens later on in the week after the dev stream goes on, is a blog post which KFC, Crazy Flying Chicken, compiles all the cool things that the community has been doing throughout the 2 weeks between them and put them all together. So this is just like a little bit of a teaser of what is to come, and there's some really cool stuff. I know. So this is the first thing that I wanted to showcase is this is by Ren, and I thought it was really cool because I don't know if you guys are familiar. You guys seen before for sure the art that Superior does. That he makes all these like hyper realistic. Also on I don't know if it's in Source or whatever he does.
Yes, I remember. Yeah.
And I thought this was really cool because we also have some more art from Superior on the blog post as well, which looks pretty damn nifty. But I wanted to showcase somebody that we hasn't been showcased yet. Is Ren with also some pretty cool and interesting things.
Is this made using Source Filmmaker?
I don't know if it is or not. It might be. I didn't have any info on these images. I've been so busy this last couple of weeks that I particularly have not been following. So, but I just thought it was really cool when I saw it between the images on the blog post that is coming, and I saw Superior things as well. I was like, oh, this is neat. This is like kind of like a new player on the battlefield doing the same, like a similar style.
Right.
But of course with completely different content, completely different aesthetics and direction. I thought it was really sweet.
Cool.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Yeah, and this one by Asagari, it's there are so many of these little comics in the blog post, and they are awesome. It's been a while since we've seen comics, and I love them so much.
You know, like, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah,
but
bro.
I actually think that we've seen comics, we've seen stylized art, but I don't think we've seen anything this looks really unique to me. Like, it actually looks very different from almost anything that we've ever seen in the past.
I know, right? As soon as you see any of that, you're like, oh, this is definitely this artist.
Yes. It's not like we've seen some art that you know it's great, but it's like sort of in the vein of like things that we've already seen before. But this reminds me of I can't put my finger on it, like some sort of like, I guess not just your typical anime. It's like a very specific style of like you know, it's almost like what you would see on the. I'm totally just gonna make things up on the spot, but like what you would see on like a food cart, like an Asian food on the back of like a snack box or something. Right?
As a non-Asian person, I'm gonna refrain from making any comments. No, I think I kind of see it. Like it has a little bit of the toy art aesthetic to it.
Yeah, exactly.
That is very, very common.
I don't know what it's called, so I'm just sort of using like the worst example out there.
I think the word is toyetic.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah,
okay,
which is like exaggerated head, small body, which some
it's
people
like
call
Advance
ethnic.
Wars, which is sort of,
and it's very present on Asian aesthetics, yes,
right?
On a lot of like, and I thought it was really, really cool because not only there's this comics and there are like these little animations, but Asagari is like implementing art from other artists as well. I don't know. We've seen a lot of the Turtle and Rabbit, the pixel arts.
Yeah.
Like he's one of the ones that does like the best pixel arts in Foxhole, in my opinion, of Foxhole things. And then Asagari took them, I'm pretty sure with Turtle and Rabbit's permission, and made like a GIF about the two characters playing a video game of Foxhole. And I thought that was just so goddamn cool.
Is that tank on the bottom right custom, or is that from something else?
I don't know, but it
Wars?
was like some of the tanks that were on the.
It looks like a Devitt.
Yeah, and it kind of looks like a Devitt, right?
Yeah, but I was like, there's a Colonial one, so maybe that wasn't custom. But
I think there's a half track on the
so
the actual game, right?
in the games there are half tracks and the AT guns, if I'm mistaken.
Yes.
Artillery or something. Yeah.
Artillery.
It kind of looks custom, but it's kind of small
as well. It's really, really cool. Turtle and Rabbit has been doing these pixel arts. I only put one of them, but there's more in the community highlights as well.
You know what?
You should check it out.
I think it's custom because that half track looks. It's a bit small, so I can't tell exactly. But there's a half track. There's an armored car, was it? And
a storm tank of some sort.
It's too hard to tell.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'll check out the main
Storm Tank.
version.
Turtle on Rabbit is saying Storm Tank.
Storm Tank. Okay. Fair enough.
Awesome. No, it's fantastic. I think that Sagari did like such a cool job, and there's more
This is really
comics
cool. Yeah.
in the blog post as well. I didn't put all of them there. They're all involving these chibi characters, like
Yeah.
these SD characters, and they are all his aesthetic, and they're all talking about some of the crazy things that, like some of the like idiosyncrasies of Foxhole.
Yeah.
I was like, how the hell do you use that
Yeah.
much?
I love those. Yeah.
Yeah, those are the best.
Like we've seen some of those about like scrapping mechanic in the past.
Yeah.
And those were always. You remember a long time ago there was one that was about like the scrapping mechanic.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is
I
kind of
think
like
Lurkus did
the
a couple
same.
of them from
Yeah.
based on like the crazy things like like hiding in the foxholes and
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah,
Those
yeah.
are great. Those
Yeah.
are so good. So yeah, I
Really
really
cool.
think that you guys should check out this week's dev blog, community highlights blog post, because there's really some cool things. And once again, today we are doing things a little bit faster, so I did not put as many cool stuff as there are in the blog post.
Yeah.
Cool.
Anyway,
Blog post.
we are gonna move on to a little bit of the development.
Yep.
So
Update. So this is also going to be quite short today. Couple things, I guess, cool things that there are to talk about, but no official like reveal of new features or anything like that. But just sort of wanted to let you guys know where things are at with the roadmap and sort of what to look forward to with update 26, which is going to be, it's still quite a bit away, about like at least a month and a half, roughly. That's going to be a big update. It's the first, we sort of have our updates as you see in the past, where we have a big update, then we follow through on that with 2 other updates that kind of build on that first update that has major changes to systems in the game, right? So as I mentioned, update 26. So this is going to be a big one. I think it's going to be biggest update since update 20, and I hate to always just be like, well, this is the new biggest one, but unfortunately it is true again, right? So it'll probably be the new biggest update that we've ever launched, and we have another really big update planned near the end of the year, but this update, we have had people working on this since like February, especially certain parts of it have been a huge undertaking. We've had to literally change people's jobs to get certain things done here, as HB can probably talk about next time, not quite yet, but we've had to like basically put people onto tasks that they usually aren't on to get through the amount of content that needs to be made. And I just wanted to talk about sort of when we're going to start revealing some features. We're not quite yet ready yet. Certain things are still being shaken down, and we didn't really want to talk about things when they were still in flux, but we have this schedule planned out for ourselves, and these dates are subject to change, but in the next 3 devlogs, we're going to talk about how the world is changing. So in update 20, you saw the world revamp. This time you'll see something that in some ways I think even exceeds what we did there. Not in the same way, but in a different way. Really, I think when you see this new world, it's going to hopefully change your paradigms on sort of what a Foxhole world map would be like, right? And we're sort of going to be, with that, there will be obviously new parts of the world that you haven't seen, old parts of the world. I can't talk too much about it right now, but we're going to be talking about that through these 3 blog posts happening in May and at the beginning of June. The next dev stream is when we sort of like will be opening up the doors officially on update 26 and be able to say, okay, this is exactly what's going to be happening. It's going to be a big undertaking, which is World Conquest 2.0, which means a couple of things. Part of that is this new world. Part of it is there's things changing in the world, like resources. The resource game is going to be refreshed. Things like I'm trying to talk about it while not talk about it too much, but I think that I think it's safe to say that we're gonna see some changes on the map screen and things of that sort, and really this strikes down to the goal that we've had from the very first day, which is we want the world to feel as unified as possible, and we want the world to feel as natural as possible. And I think this next step is sort of a hopefully a big step towards that. And then on the dev stream after that is when we're going to talk about the other big half of update 26, which is the Logi revamp. And this is something that I'm personally invested in this one, hugely invested in this one, and I'm really we set out last year in the Industries Award update to make some change, but and then we added some stuff after the mines, and I think that in general we learned some things, but I think that there was a bunch of stuff that we kind of really wanted to do, but due to our time constraints and maybe a little bit of what Alkas was talking about, we weren't willing to take these risks at that point in time. But we're sort of throwing caution to the wind, so to say, and saying there's no better time than to do it now. There's a lot of stuff with Logi that we want to change, and I think that it's gonna be pretty game changing. I don't think everybody's necessarily gonna like the changes. To sort of
is there any changes that everybody like?
No, but I think this time especially, we're not really taking a balanced approach. We're picking where we want it to go, and we're going to go there 100%, which might be the breaking point for some players. But we'd rather go 100% in one direction that we feel it should go than to try to play this sort of compromised game. And a bunch of this is based on where our first vision of Logi came from, and some of it also comes from a lot of the feedback we've heard from you guys, and it's gonna be wild.
Okay.
Right. So we'll hopefully this next month is gonna be pretty exciting. But a lot of stuff is gonna change. So if you like the game the way it is now, you should play it a lot, because that game might be different. So nervous laughter, right?
Yeah.
But it's
hopefully everybody will like it, but
I hope everyone will like it.
We are trying for that.
We are trying for that, for sure. But you're gonna, if you really, something that we've always believed in, and this isn't I'm saying it to be truthful, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that and not saying it for shock value, but if you ever really want to get things done, you're gonna ruffle some feathers. Yeah. And it's not because you want to ruffle some feathers. It's just because that's just the name of the game, right? And so yeah, I look forward to the next couple streams, and I'm sure there's a million questions out there that we can't answer now, but hold on to those questions, and we'll be able to get it all answered in the coming month.
Cool.
Yep.
Is there anything more? Anything else for?
Nope.
No. So it's just Q&A time, guys. Start bringing up your questions. Take advantage of the fact that Nooba is here. I'm sure that he will be back more now that things are easier for him to be there. But we will start answering questions. Let's see. Yes. Don't. Come on. Wait, why is this not scrolling? Ironfire 182 asks, you said it was a Logi update. Will there be any changes to the building as well? Is that the same thing?
Building is separate building is technically part of Logi, but for building, we actually have started like we've been working on that as well, in like the design and in some and actually some of the changes for this Logi update are actually going to be heavily utilized in the build when we come around later on to do the building update. So it's what we're doing is we're kind of trying to like design things in a cohesive way. So for example, some of the new tools that you're going to get in new content in update 26 is directly related to the base building revamp work that we're going to do at some other point this year. So don't expect a big revamp to building in update 26. That's gonna come later, but you know a lot of the work we're doing there is related, and I think that'll be start to come clear once you start seeing some of the update 26 stuff, right?
Cool.
Yeah.
On the topic of changing things, are you guys? And this is from Red Donut 2000. Are you guys going to change the aim system? Because there are some complaints about hill firefights. Guys who are not uphill always lose the fight since they will hit the hill halfway, even though they are aiming towards the enemy.
Yeah, so I think that's something that falls into the category of things that we want to tweak and improve.
Like on an ongoing basis.
Sort of on an ongoing basis in between these big updates. So if we hear more, you know, like we know that's been a bit of a pain point. I think that if that discussion, you know, starts to get more like intense, then you know we're gonna take a look at it, right? About a year ago, last summer, we actually went through a big revamp of combat and like aiming and you can no longer like shadow dance, or at least it's a lot harder to do that. And this kind of falls under the same category that in between one of these updates, like, you know, there might be time to be like, hey, maybe we should go look at some of these like aiming updates. We're not done with like aiming. There's definitely room for that feedback and we definitely like to hear more about that.
I think
that
elevation has kind of always been a bit of a pain point, because you know you do want to capture some of the, you know, dynamic of like, oh, high elevation kind of gives you an advantage, but you know, if you swing the other way, like if you're swinging too far in that direction, then it's just really frustrating to fight against elevation. So you want to like kind of, you know, make it more fair, but if you make it too fair, then it's like, you know, then you kind of lose that depth of like, oh, like where's the advantage in the elevation? But yeah,
there's a follow up. I don't remember who was a couple of people that were mentioning that it was more, that question was more in regards to the line of sight problems. For instance, if you're prone, sometimes you shoot and you hit the ground instead of hitting the person, and things like that.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely raise those issues, and you know, if you guys have, you know, it's always best if you have, you know, footage, you know, like clear way of demonstrating those issues. You know, those we do definitely want to fix on an ongoing basis. Like if it's obviously broken, then yeah, we should definitely fix those.
Cool. There is I'm gonna ask, since Matt does that, I'm gonna ask a question to myself, because Sikari95, will there be an update at some point for the animation of each weapon, as in different reloads and the actual magazine being visible, perhaps even a different stance with each weapon, so and so on? Sikari, I've been slowly doing that. So on the latest update, you might have noticed that all the rifle stances, all the weapons that are kind of rifle stances, they have different reloads when you're standing and when you're crouching. They have different like shootings and stuff like that. Going through all the weapons just takes time and effort. Basically, that's what it is. And going through all the stances just takes time and effort. And as of this moment, I do them when I have a little bit of extra time. But there will be most likely there will be a pass later on when we go closer to polishing the game for release, in which I probably will have a little bit more time to do more animations. So the plan is yes. No promises, but I try to make sure that they feel different and they animate different because I find that fun. There was I saw very interesting one. Okay, Misco 48, not the one that I was looking for, but this is another one. How will this huge update work in relation to the ongoing war? Will it just cut a war halfway through if this war ends too fast?
So we usually try to. It's unpredictable, but we have historically tried to time things that in such a way where a war will end and then we'll have what previously was skirmish, but now we have like the resistance phase, and then we time the update with that. However, when we have certain updates where the data is hard to move, then we will do things to get the war to end like earlier, like
accelerate a little bit.
Yeah, we'll like reduce number of victory towns, has been the sort of method we used in the past, and try to do it in such a way that is as least disruptive as possible. So that's probably how we're gonna be doing it.
So
this time around,
it depends basically on how is the release. What are the particularities of each release, right?
Yes.
More than anything.
Yeah.
There is a question in here. Quickfire Tom, do you think supply caches have been successful? In my opinion, it hasn't, and I find it makes the start of the war more boring. I respect that you tried something new though, but do you think it has been successful?
No, I think that resistance phase and things like supply caches have fallen under the category. It's the most early access part of the game, right?
Yeah.
And it falls under the category of us playing around with some possibilities of things persisting between wars. And we have seen some interesting things, like definitely we've seen players taking it very seriously and trying to like prepare for the next war. So I think that part of it was at least successful in the sense that people were interested in it. At least some set of players were very, very interested in it. But I definitely think it's fairly raw, and I think we need to improve both resistance phase and that.
I think
as we go through time.
I think the only thing that I guess is exciting for me personally is the fact that we introduced this concept of a structure or something that persists to the next war, right? Just the concept, just playing around with that concept, I think was important. So we want to see how that plays out. But yes, like skirmish mode, resistance mode, and resistance mode, and the caches, they're definitely extra experimental at the moment.
Cool. There's a question for Craig Strovers that usually it will be a Matt question, but I think I can answer that, and Mark, feel free as well. At what point does the aesthetics of a map become less important than the actual playability of the map? For example, West End, the map is basically unplayable after long sessions due to the extreme fog. The answer is never. I don't think that the aesthetics are ever more important than being playable.
Yeah, no, for sure.
We do make some choices so that maps feel different. So maps might be harder at some different points or at night, or you can't drive as well on some maps because it's a forest or something like that. But the aesthetics are always underneath the playability and what is the play style that we are looking for on that particular map. Same thing. I think that's very fair.
They said what map is unplayable?
West End.
Oh.
West End.
WE is Westgate, yeah.
Oh, Weather Expanse.
Weather Expanse. West End. Weather Expanse. West End is something else. Yeah. Weather Expanse, which does have fog. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know why I said West End. Yeah. So I don't think we ever say.
No, yeah, the visuals, if that is something that's happening, let us know. But yeah,
If it's something that is completely breaking the game, then making it unplayable, it's more likely a bug than an aesthetic choice, because playability always comes first. That being said, we do make choices in the way that we want people to feel and having to deal with the map. Each map is basically an opportunity for us to create scenarios for players to try to deal with, right?
I mean, I can see us utilizing something like fog to create, a different, playing field. Like, but if it's completely unfair, like the colonial hometown is like fogged up, but like the wardens don't have that problem, like that would be bad. But if it's like, some sort of like contested area that has fog, you're going to play differently in a fogged up area than you would in an open field, right? So if we could do something like that, but that goal is still gameplay rather than like just making the map pretty.
Just an addendum to what Alkas just said, in my opinion, like it's like, maybe sometimes if the colonial is fogged up and the warden is not, we are okay on some points with that, because we don't think that every map should be completely balanced, as long as the overall experience of the overall map is balanced.
Yeah.
Like you can have maps that are harder from one side and easier from another, as long as like overall the map should balance it out.
Yeah.
So there is there was a question that I thought it was interesting. I think it's something that we did talk about it before, but something, I don't know if it's something that we mentioned in a long time. What are your thoughts on restructuring the voice chat to be more like squad or post-scriptum? For example, having local voice chat and then squad leader, and then maybe a region commander and stuff like that. So having more options on the voice chat to be a bit more structured.
I think we've considered some of those options.
That was
I think we tried.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
with player operations, that was kind of yeah.
Yeah, with actually in with player operations, there is in the code, and this did exist in our I think it was in the dev branch or maybe like an internal build, where the operations, all the operation leaders can talk to each other through operation leader channel, and then you had operation voice chat, and then you had your local voice chat. This was this like 3-tiered system, but we found that it was difficult to parse because in Foxhole there's like so many players could potentially be in your operation, that at least in our early tests, it was difficult to get a handle on all that, and it ended up being really confusing to use. Now that's not to say that like, it couldn't work. I think we did some tests and we tried things out in a couple of play sessions. It didn't work out, but it could have been the way we did it wasn't very good. So something like that could be improved. But I think the one thing that we've sort of learned through working on player operations and other similar types of like communication tools in the past, like some stuff we added to our text chat and so on and so forth, is whenever we try to impose some sort of a rigid system onto players, we found that for Foxhole, for an expansive game like Foxhole with hundreds of players, we never get it right? Like players will always know the better way for how to like organize themselves.
Yeah.
Players will always that's why if they have a tool like Discord, like a clan will always choose to go to Discord than whatever we build, because they're going to know what works for them better. And each individual clan, in fact, my understanding is that a lot of them have their own hierarchies, right? Like some clans have these very strict, rigid hierarchies, and other ones are more loose and flat.
And some of them are more horizontal, some are more vertical.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that anytime we've tried to be like, this is how you should organize yourselves, it's never really worked out that well. And I think that what we want to try to do in the future when it comes to approaching communication tools is to build more like generic tools and allow players to, like, flexible tools, and allow players to leverage that flexibility to adapt their own personal organization style to the game, rather than us, saying you should organize yourself in this way. That's always, like, it's rarely worked out in Foxhole when we've tried to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last question. I think that is just like a more light-hearted question. Voice lines and audio modes and things spoken in game, and more events and that harvest and like more role play stuff. Are we gonna see any more of that?
Yeah, I mean, we are going to do another Dead Harvest this fall, and
Announcement.
I think I mentioned it, and I think it's in the roadmap, but which has been shown quite a few times. But
Nobody read those.
even if it wasn't, it's not a big deal. Like, I think everybody kind of knew that we were going to be doing it, and I think we're going to change things up this year. It's not going to be the same, but we'd love to do that again. We have to balance it. Like, we're spending all our time on events. We're not going to be making progress on the core game. But I think, like, some events here or there are definitely a good break for us as well, right? As we've been working on Foxhole for a very long time, and being able to take a break to work on something like Dead Harvest is actually can be very refreshing, right? So we're excited about it. If you guys want to see more of that, we'd be excited to work on more of it, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you guys very much. That was it for the dev stream. As always, if you're watching this on YouTube, catch us live on twitch.tv/foxholegame every second Tuesday at 2 p.m. EST. But we will try to answer some questions on the comments below if you're watching this on YouTube. Otherwise, if you guys have any questions, if you guys want to join the community, our Discord, I'm going to put the link in here somewhere. I don't know. Which is discord.gg/foxhole.
Yes.
Game or Foxhole? I never remember.
It's Foxhole.
Foxhole, right? I never remember which one is it. And that was it for us. Do you want to say anything?
Cool. It was good being here. Hopefully, I'll be back soon.
Hope so too. Oh, last thing. Thank you for everybody that actually submitted for the art contest. The deadline was yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, or the day before at midnight. Thank you very much for everybody that submitted. There's some really cool
I
stuff.
was blown away by the submissions.
Yeah, there's some stuff that I was like, holy crap! I'm glad that we did like leave it open for they could do whatever they wanted to do, because it was really cool. So we will evaluate them. We're gonna wait for Matt to come back before we evaluate, so everybody gets a chance everybody in Clapfoot gets a chance to take a look at them and see who we want to pick up as winners and stuff like that. And we're gonna do the awards sometime.
The award ceremony.
Awards ceremony.
Which will be us talking on the stream.
I know. I have no idea how I'm gonna do it, but yeah, that is it. And as always, I don't know, man. As always, is there something else in the end?
Nah.